Let me ask you something. Think of someone who hurt you, maybe a long time ago. Maybe they betrayed you. Maybe they left. Maybe they said something that still replays in your head on a Tuesday night when you should be asleep. Now tell me honestly, are they thinking about that right now? Because you are. And that's the thing nobody tells you about resentment. It doesn't hurt the person who caused it. It just stays inside you, quietly, like a tenant who never pays rent. Studies show chronic resentment activates the same stress pathways as physical injury. You're literally wounding yourself every time you replay it. Today we're going to talk about why letting go is not weakness. Sometimes it's the most intelligent, most pragmatic thing you can do. Not for them, for you. Most people think resentment is an emotion. It's not. Well, it starts as one, but it becomes something else entirely. Here's what actually happens in your body when you hold a grudge. Your brain logs the original hurt as a threat. Completely normal. That's survival. But when you replay that event, your brain cannot tell the difference between memory and reality. It re-triggers the same threat response. Cortisol floods in. Your muscles tense. Your heart rate changes. Pause here. Right now, recall an argument you had. Notice, your body just reacted. Your chest might have shifted. That's not metaphor. That's biochemistry. So every time you replay the offense, you're not remembering pain. You're recreating it from scratch, in real time, inside your own nervous system. And here's the unexpected part. The person who hurt you doesn't have to do anything for this to happen. They could be on a beach somewhere, completely at peace, and you are sitting there with your coffee going cold, running their voice in your head for the 11,000th time. There's a woman. Let's call her Maya. She's 41, a teacher. She's warm, she's funny. She keeps a letter in her nightstand drawer. It's from her ex-husband, written 12 years ago. She hasn't read it in years, but she keeps it. She says it's so she never forgets what he did. But here's what I noticed when she told me this story. Her hands were shaking. Her voice changed. 12 years later, a letter she didn't even read. It was still doing its job. Maya's ex had remarried, had kids, was, by all accounts, happy. The only person still living inside that marriage was Maya. That letter wasn't protection. It was a chain she chose to keep wearing. Now, I want to be careful here, because I'm not saying what he did wasn't wrong. It was. I'm not saying her pain wasn't real. It absolutely was. What I'm saying is, at some point, the wound closes, but we keep reopening it, because we think that's how we stay safe. And that is the thing worth examining today. Here's something that'll probably surprise you. Resentment has a logic to it. It's not irrational. It actually makes complete sense once you understand what job it's doing. When someone hurts us, a part of our mind decides, I need to stay alert. Holding on to the story of what they did is how we stay vigilant. It's a survival strategy dressed up as an emotion. Think of it this way. Your resentment is trying to protect you. It just doesn't know the threat is over. But there's a second layer, and this one's a little harder to sit with. Sometimes we hold on to resentment because it gives us something. Identity. When you've been hurt by someone, that hurt becomes part of your story. Letting go can feel like erasing what happened, like saying it didn't matter, like they got away with it. And for some people, especially those who never got an apology, never got acknowledgement, the resentment is the only proof they have that something real happened. A guy I know, we'll call him Daniel, got passed over for a promotion. His manager gave it to someone less qualified. Openly political, unfair. Daniel was furious. Rightfully. But 3 years later, after he'd left that company, started somewhere new, was doing better work, earning more money, he was still telling that story. His wife finally said to him one night, "You know that manager doesn't know your name anymore, right?" He went quiet. Then she said, "But he still lives in your head, rent-free." Here's the twist. Daniel's resentment wasn't about the promotion anymore. It was about feeling unseen. And no amount of replaying that story was ever going to make him feel seen. That's the trap. Resentment doesn't heal the original wound. It just keeps it fresh. The third reason we hold on, and this one's quiet but powerful, is moral accounting. We think, if I stop being angry, it means they won. As if our suffering is somehow keeping the scales balanced, as if our pain is punishment for them. It isn't. It's just pain, yours, that they don't feel. Stop for 1 second. If you've been carrying something, a betrayal, a rejection, a moment that still burns, ask yourself honestly, is holding this actually costing them anything, or is it only costing you? That's not a rhetorical question. I want you to actually answer it. Let's talk about what this actually costs you, not philosophically, practically. First, cognitive bandwidth. Every resentment you carry takes up processing power in your mind. It's not unlike having 30 browser tabs open all the time. You can still function, but everything runs a little slower. Your focus, your creativity, your presence in conversations, all subtly drained by background processing of old grievances. Second, how you relate to people now. This one's subtle and underestimated. When you carry unresolved resentment towards someone, it trains your nervous system to be on guard. And that guard doesn't always know how to turn off for new relationships. You find yourself waiting for the betrayal that hasn't happened yet, testing people without meaning to, pulling back before they can leave first. Third, and I want to be direct about this one, chronic resentment is physically corrosive. Extended periods of low-grade stress, which is what unprocessed anger and resentment create, are linked to disrupted sleep, weakened immune response, elevated blood pressure, and increased inflammatory markers. You are not just emotionally tired, you are physiologically paying for something that happened in the past, a bill that keeps coming due. And here's what makes this so insidious. It's slow. It doesn't announce itself. You don't wake up one day and think, "My body is suffering because I never let go of 2019. You just feel a little heavier, a little more tired, a little harder to fully relax. The fourth cost is perhaps the most devastating. The life you're not living while you're busy maintaining the one that already ended. A man sits at his favorite restaurant with his kids. They're laughing. It's a good night. But across the room, he sees someone who wronged him years ago, a former business partner, the one who took credit, who lied. He spends the rest of the dinner with half his attention at that other table, watching, calculating, feeling it rise back up. His kids are talking. He's nodding, but he's not there. He's back in a conference room from 4 years ago. His daughter will not remember that dinner fondly. She'll remember that her dad seemed far away. That's what it costs. Not just the past, the present, the people who are right there. Okay, I want to address the biggest misconception directly. Letting go is not the same as forgiving. It's not saying what they did was okay. It's not pretending it didn't happen. It's not being the bigger person in some performative, self-congratulatory way. Letting go is a practical decision. It's choosing to stop paying out of your own time and energy and health and presence for something you didn't even choose to purchase. Here's a reframe that changes everything for some people. You don't let go for them. You let go so that what they did stops having a seat at your table every single day. Let me give you a framework. 3 practical moves. 1. Name the function. Ask yourself, what is this resentment doing for me right now? Not what did it do when it was fresh, right now. Is it protecting me from someone who is still a danger? Or is it just a habit? Is it keeping me connected to my own sense of justice? Or is it preventing me from moving somewhere better? Just name it. You don't have to act on it yet. But when you can say, I'm holding this because letting go feels like losing, that's a fundamentally different conversation than, I just can't get over it. That shift alone, from passive to active, begins to change your relationship with the resentment. You're the one holding it, which means you're the one who can put it down. 2. Separate the story from the wound. There are 2 things here: the wound, which was real, and the story you've built around it, which is a construction. The wound says, I was hurt, that mattered, I deserved better. The story says, this defines me. They are the villain. I will never fully trust again. You can honor the wound without feeding the story. You can say, that happened and it hurt, and I choose not to keep building a house to live inside that hurt. 3. Redirect the energy. Here's where it gets practical. Resentment is energy, a significant amount of it actually. When you stop directing it backward, something becomes available. Not immediately, it's not a switch, but gradually the bandwidth comes back. The mental space that was occupied by replaying and rehearsing slowly becomes available for building, creating, connecting. Think of someone you know who has done this, really done it. There's a lightness to them that isn't naive. It's not that they don't know hard things happen, it's that they decided hard things don't get permanent residency. What would you do with that energy if you got it back? Genuinely, what would you build? Who would you become? What relationship would finally get your full presence? Let me bring it back to where we started. The person who hurt you may already be living peacefully. That might be infuriating to hear. It's supposed to be, because it's true, and it matters. Not because life is fair, it often isn't. Not because they deserve peace and you don't, you both do. But because the only suffering you have any power over is yours. Carrying resentment does not punish them. It does not balance the scales. It does not make the story come out differently. What it does is take the person who hurt you once and give them the ability to keep hurting you every day without even showing up. That's not loyalty to your past self. That's not justice. That's just prolonged suffering. Chosen. Unconsciously maybe, but chosen. There's a Zen story about a monk who carries a woman across a river. His fellow monk is disturbed. They're not supposed to touch women. Hours later, miles down the road, the second monk is still going on about it. Finally, the first monk says, "Brother, I set her down at the riverbank. When did you pick her back up?" You don't have to become enlightened. You don't have to feel warm feelings toward them. You don't have to tell anyone you've let it go. You just have to decide, at some point, that you're done paying for something that was never your debt. That whatever happened, however wrong it was, it happened back there, at the riverbank, and you can keep walking. So here's where I'll leave you. If something came up for you during this video, a name, a face, a moment, I want you to do one thing before you close this tab. Write it down. Just what it is. No resolution required. Just, I'm still carrying this. I'd like to put it down. That sentence, said honestly to yourself, is not weakness. It's actually the beginning of the only kind of strength that matters. If this landed, share it with someone who might need to hear it. Not as a hint, as a gift. There are people in your life who are still at that riverbank. And sometimes, a video finds its way to them at exactly the right time. I'll see you in the next one.